Users of Reddit, what is the most disturbing thing you found out about your parents when they thought you weren't home? That they would take advantage of an empty house was the last time I acted like I wasn't home again. Listen man. Kids require a shitload of attention. If you happen to be out of the house, your mom is getting railed. This is just the way the world works. My dog had gone missing. She was my best friend, slept on my bed, and was my constant childhood companion. I rode my bike around town for days looking for her. The neighborhood boys saw me crying and tried to help. We knocked on doors and a neighbor said she was fine, that she had spotted her living down the street. I told my mother, who said the dog had been kidnapped by dangerous people. She said not to go there. I ignored her and asked the boys if they were down. To protect me from the dangerous people, we rode our bikes to the farm, where I was told my mother had given her to the nice family who served his hot cocoa and cookies. They gave her back to me, and I slowly realized what the boys said might be true, that my mom was a whack job. Do you mind if I ask what your mother did when you got back with the dog? It's not a nice story, but I will tell you it. I wish it had a happy ending, but it doesn't. Any victory I felt was short-lived. My dog would have been safer at the people on the farm. Perhaps she knew that. She said the neighbors were liars, and I was grounded for the first time. I had to miss swimming lessons at the lake, and it was miserably hot. I could go outside or in my room that summer, and I took the punishment. Happy to have my dog back. I was just a little kid, and I thought what I did was necessary. About a month of the summer went by and my friends called me on the phone to talk. Somehow I lost control of the situation, and she got out in the yard where she fell asleep under the car. It was my fault as it was my dog, and she was supposed to be with me, but she just wasn't. My mom had a bit of a short fuse, and sometimes left the house dramatically as soon as my father got home. My father came in. They argued and the door slammed. I could hear the car fire up, and I dropped the phone, not seeing my dog anywhere. It happened all so fast, and I heard her crash and her crying. She backed up almost completely over her. It was too fast and my father had to put her down. My mom blamed me that she was outside and hit me. The neighbors were outside and my grandparents were called. The rest of that day is nothing but a blur. I was told I fainted from the shock. I packed some of my clothes and went with my grandparents until school started. My grandmother kept me distracted, but I remember moping for weeks. I never had another dog or any pet around her again. Parents weren't home, and when my brother and I came home from school, there was a huge dildo suction cup to a wall in their bedroom, with the door wide open. It was gigantic. Seriously the size of an adult's forearm. My dad was an abusive long-distance trucker, so we phoned our mom at work about it because he was coming home, and we knew for sure he'd flip out when he saw it. My mom said it was a joke, but we could take it down and hide it if we were scared of getting our asses beat. This coming from a woman who regularly got beat by the guy. Anyway, my brother was the one who took it off the wall and hid it. Back in the age of answering machines, I came home from school and noticed there was a new message. I listened and it was some strange person warning my dad that someone put out a contract on him. I left it alone and pretended I never heard it, and I never asked. About 2 weeks later we moved. What did he do for work? Serious question. If he did construction, or like one of 50 other professions, that is a perfectly normal voice. Mailer hahaha. Can see what you'd think as a kid though. This is a thing in construction? Wild. Not my parents, but I found out my great grandpa was a notorious crime boss in Las Vegas, and our family still has branches there to this day that routinely murder, extort, sell drugs, etc. My stepdad was supposed to be the head of a crime family as eldest brother, but he'd converted to JW while in prison and wouldn't do it. A few years after he married my mom, one of his nephews got pulled over for speeding. The cops were surprised that he had no official job and no legit income, but also owned the expensive car he was driving and had good car insurance. So they started keeping an eye on him and the rest of the family, which led to the entire family having to go legit and get regular jobs. Stepdad laughed so hard when he told me and my mom about all this. Pretty vanilla. But I got home early from a trip to the mall in my teens and caught My dad sitting on our kitchen counter smoking a joint and blowing the smoke out the window. He panicked and did that stiff deer in the headlights thing and tried hiding it. It went something like this. "Hey, Dad, what's going on here? Apostrophe. Just fixing this window. Apostrophe. With that joint in your hand. Apostrophe. Fuck you. You smoke too, don't you? Apostrophe. Yeah. Apostrophe. Get over here then. Apostrophe. What I wouldn't give for that to be my dad. I'm not your dad, but I will come over and smoke a joint in your kitchen. I'm also open to ducking to your mom if that helps." A friend of mine said one time, when she was little, she was watching The Land Before Time one day before she went to school, but couldn't finish it before she had to leave, so she was gonna finish it when she got home. She was anxious all day waiting to get home to finish it, and when she did, she went straight to the VCR and pressed play thinking it was right when she left off. Then on the TV she saw her naked mom crawling over to her naked dad. Yay. While her and her sister were at school, they watched their own homemade sex tape and forgot to take it out when they were finished. Lol. Poor them. Imagine expecting a nice animated movie and coming across your mother and dad like that. Not really when they thought I wasn't home. My mom asked me to get a pillow from her room, and I found a little pouch with a pink thing inside, and I turned it on, and it started vibrating. My little brain thought it was a pillow vibrator. I found my parents' vibrator as a kid too. I thought it was a hand massager, and ended up rubbing it all over my face, because the vibrations felt weird. Really gross to think about now. My brother found my aunt's vibrator under the sink when we stayed in her condo one weekend. He brought it to my mom and said, "This smells like butt cheese." Apostrophe. She couldn't have snatched that up any faster if it were a poisonous snake. The only reason I remember it is because my mom decided to explain to us in great detail what a vibrator was used for and why we should never touch one if we saw it. We were 8 and 10 and would have been happy believing it was a stinky curling iron. Well, this was when my mom wasn't home. But I was vacuuming the whole house as a chore, and I found a diary in her closet that said she had fantasies of throwing me out the window as a baby. I was colicky and cried all the time. I also saw that she considered my dad mentally abusive. They're divorced, but he is a really nice guy, so it was shocking. Edit. Thank you for the kind comments. I was always aware of PPD and forget it's not well known to everyone. I definitely don't take it personally what I read. Postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression are serious problems. If you're, not you in particular, Dr. Janice Magus, feeling overwhelmed, irrationally irritable, lack of interest in your baby, just off, or having intrusive thoughts, please talk to your OB or general practitioner, or even pediatrician. Help is available. My mom keeps all her dildos and sex toys in her sweater closet. Never borrowed her clothes again. Well, it wasn't that they didn't think I was home. It was just that I only visited on the occasional weekend. And when I went into my room, I found my stepmom's vibrator on my bed. And when I told my dad, he said it was probably because my, at the time teething, brother probably was carrying it around. I just feel bad for the kid for living unknowingly of that fact that has had his mom's vibrator in his mouth. Yuck. Tell him that on his 16th. So evil. My mom told my dad that if his job made us all move to Indiana, she would divorce him so she wouldn't have to go, and she was absolutely serious. She'd spent several years in Indiana because of her dad's job, and her whole family had miserable for those years until they could get out again. Had something new to add to my prayers that night. I tell you what, bahaha, living in Indiana, this makes me laugh. My mom did the opposite. She told my dad she'd divorce them if they didn't move to Florida. They moved to Florida with my siblings a year ago. She divorced him anyway. Now they are all miserable. No hate to Indiana. My mom's experience was just so bad that she didn't want to chance it, which I can understand. Yeah, that's pretty much the perfect opposite. But also, ouch. That kind of sucks. I hope everyone can feel less miserable soon. I once heard my mom talking to her friends about how she thinks I belong in a mental institution. My mom used to tell me that the only reason she didn't stone me to death like the Bible said she should was because it was illegal. She said it a lot. And it wasn't a joke. Some people just shouldn't be parents. I grew up jealous of orphans and kids who got sent away to boarding schools. Read way too many books about kids surviving on their own, like the Boxcar Children and My Side of the Mountain. Anyhow, I didn't deserve the shit my mom said about me, and odds are you didn't deserve what your mom said about you. Very few kids actually do something so terrible that they need that level of help. Sorry to hear about that. Are you or do you want to be a parent yourself? The only reason I mention it is because it's sad when the trend continues down generations. But you seem like the kind of person who would be a great parent yourself. That I almost died when I had surgery to fix my broken leg. I overheard my mom talking on the phone. She didn't tell you that you almost died? They just said it was more complicated than they thought, and I'm allergic to anesthesia. This was back in the late 60s. I discovered an envelope with Polaroids in it. This was in my parents' top dresser drawer. I had been given permission to be in there to get one of my dad's ties. It was in style back then for girls to wear a plaid skirt, white shirt, and a tie, and I wanted to go to the teen center dance with my girlfriends that Friday night. However, I had no idea what I was about to find. I not only found pictures of my parents having sex and taking pictures of themselves, but they were apparently swingers. Other pictures included my parents having sex with other couples who had been coming to the house on weekends for years. And another couple was the parents of one of my friends. I never told my friend. I was too embarrassed. Now it all made sense to me why on weekends my sister and I were told to go to bed so early, and then we heard my parents setting up the 8mm movie camera and watching movies with these couples, as well as drinking a lot. Well, my mom didn't think I was supposed to be home so soon. Her boyfriend wanted to leave her, and I walked up on him ripping the plugs off her car battery since she was throwing a fit. I thought he was looking at something IDK. I go up to see my mom crying, but it's too much for me, so I just take a shower. After I'm done, I go into her room to see her suicide note saying she was going to the gun range and going to off herself there. Well, I dug deep in her closet to find her old cell phone, plug it in, find her old cop friend's phone number, call and tell him what's going on. Long story short, she was 302'D before anything bad happened. But I'm glad I was sent home from work early that day. Jesus. Now my parents are traditional Indian and never gave me the birds and bees talk or ever brought up sex. One night I come home early and make my way down the hallway to go to my room and hear some heavy breathing and grunting. Once I got close to my room, which is across from my parents, I realize they are going at it. I immediately do a 180 and walk right out the door, get in my vehicle and head to the bar I hung out at. Never brought it up or was ever mentioned. I know they had to have heard me as I opened the garage door, house door, fridge, went to basement to check downstairs fridge also. As a mom who gets railed, language from previous threads on this one lol, often when people aren't home. I gotta tell you that they didn't hear you. You could have come in with a marching band and full fireworks display and they wouldn't have heard you. I believe it laughing my butt off. I'm sure they were in the zone. And in the long run it's their home. And I'm an adult. Sex is sex. Everyone has to get some, even your parents lol. Our parents lol. Rent lol. Lol. Also, I still can't get over the start of your sentence I'm dying. Tense I'm dying. I once heard my parents discussing killing me and my brother before killing themselves in a murder/suicide. A few nights later, my dad came into my room while he thought I was sleeping with his shotgun and just stood there for 20 minutes and then left. He attempted suicide shortly a few days later. If anyone thinks they can beat that, come at me. That's extremely fucked up. Were they both depressed, drugged, or just fucked in mind? No idea. The story only gets weirder the deeper it goes. I've had offers to write a book but never really wanted to. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.